Number 11. King Tut's sandals. Sandals and flip-flops are a pretty common type of shoe these days, but it turns out they have been around for thousands of years and haven't even changed that much. But where did they come from? It seems like almost back to the dawn of humanity. Their history dates at least as far back as ancient Egypt, but probably even further. Believe it or not, King Tut himself wore thong sandals. There have even been extensive studies on his 3,300-year-old footwear. King Tut's sandals were made from various materials, including gold, vegetable fiber, birch bark, glass, leather, gemstones, and glazed ceramic. The young ruler had a club foot and lacked a middle toe bone on his right foot, so he needed some special custom fancy sandals. He was buried with at least 80 pairs of shoes of different sizes, rivaling some of your closets, I'm sure. Some were falling apart, while others were found in great condition. Many of the shoes were stuffed in the middle of the sole to provide the ailing king with extra comfort. Experts identified several features that were not found in other ancient footwear, including the shoes found in the tomb of King Tut's grandparents, Yuya and Yuyu. These features include horizontal straps just below the toes and semicircular panels on the insides of the shoes. The question is, did he wear his sandals with socks? I'm guessing not. So the next time you slip on your sandals to run to your mailbox or go grocery shopping, remember that you are continuing a long-held tradition. Number 10. Bronze Age Hoard. While excavating at an ancient fortified settlement in central France last year, archaeologists unearthed Bronze Age pottery packed to the brim with hundreds of pieces of jewelry and other artifacts. They believe that the pots were buried around 800 BC, nearly 3,000 years ago. 2 vessels were filled with women and children's jewelry, including bracelets, anklets, and pendants. Another pot contained tools and weapons, while yet another one consisted of chariot decorations, riding equipment, and wheel parts. A bronze axe was placed on top of each vessel. Researcher Pierre-Yves Milcent said that the items could be offerings to the gods that were left at either the founding of the settlement or when it was abandoned, similar to ancient Greek traditions. He described the well-preserved artifacts as exceptional and explained that these objects will help experts better understand their purpose and why they were buried. But more digging and studying are necessary to truly get to the bottom of this fascinating mystery. Number 9. Looted coins. The Israel Antiquities Authority has recently recovered hundreds of ancient coins that were looted from archaeological sites, according to the Jerusalem Post. Agents from the IAA's Robbery Prevention Unit found the hoard while raiding a suspect's home in the city of Bnei Brak. The artifacts include gold, Byzantine, and Islamic coins, hundreds of Roman coins, and dozens of Hasmonean coins. You've probably heard of the other ones, but the Hasmonean dynasty lasted about 80 years and is referred to by some scholars as an independent kingdom of Israel until they were conquered by the Roman Republic and the ruling family was replaced by Herod the Great. IAA Trading National Inspector Ilan Haddad told the news outlet that the suspect worked as an illegal antiquities dealer trading in both legal and illegal artifacts, including items that were smuggled in from other countries. There are a lot of gray areas when it comes to dealing with archaeological artifacts. Haddad pointed out that looting causes irreversible damage to archaeological sites and artifacts by taking them out of context. As a result, valuable information and stories are lost forever to history. Looting is a major problem in Israel, and archaeologists are racing against the clock to excavate important sites before they are destroyed by thieves and artifacts are stolen and spread all over the world. The IAA is especially focused on the caves near the Dead Sea, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. Criminals have targeted the site for decades, and at this point, the agency needs to collect what it can before more artifacts disappear. Number 8. Massive mammoth thigh bone. While scuba diving in the Peace River near Acadia, Florida in early May, friends Derek Demeter and Henry Sadler discovered a huge thigh bone belonging to a 22,000-pound mammoth. The 4-foot-long, 50-pound femur likely dates back to sometime between 2.5 million and 10,000 years ago. Demeter, who is the planetarium director at Seminole State University, told the news that the bone is probably around 100,000 years old based on its density. The suspected species, the Columbian mammoth, lived as far south as modern-day Costa Rica. Recent research indicates that this behemoth creature was a hybrid between the woolly mammoth and a yet unidentified mammoth lineage that originated in Russia and arrived in North America around 1.5 million years ago. The bone is impressively intact, owing to the many years it spent buried in the sand. It's making a nice addition to the classroom of Demeter's friend, a middle school teacher he donated the artifact to. That same day, the pair also discovered the partial remains of a saber-toothed tiger and an ancient shark. Discoveries like these are what motivate the duo to continue diving throughout Southwest Florida. You just never know what you might find. Number 7. Nazi Hoard. While renovating his aunt's home in Hagen, Germany recently, a man named Sebastian Yurtseven found a collection of Nazi artifacts hidden in a wall. The house was damaged when the nearby Volme River overflowed and caused catastrophic flooding. Yurtseven removed a loose piece of plasterboard and discovered a newspaper from 1945. He then found Nazi-era gas masks, a revolver, a photo of Hitler, and an array of documents. The home once served as the headquarters for the National Socialist People's Welfare Organization, or the NSV. This branch of the Nazi Party evacuated children to rural areas and distributed food and gas masks. It also had a clothing donation program and provided medical care, including exams and vaccinations. By 1943, the NSV had an estimated 17 million members, according to Hagen City Archives manager Ralph Blank, who spoke with French media outlet News 24. Historians believe that someone hastily hid the trove as Americans advanced on the city in April of 1945. Some documents date as far back as 1928. There are very few original sources on the NSV, making the discovery especially useful for learning about its inner workings. The organization was dissolved after Germany's defeat under a policy called Law No. 2 that was issued by the Allies. Yurtseven's family bought the house during the 1960s and did not know about the building's past affiliation with the Nazi Party. Staff from the Hagen City Archives took the artifacts for further study and planned to exhibit them in a local museum. Would you care if you found a hidden cache like this in your house? Would you stay or would you sell it? Let me know in the comments below. Number 6. Neanderthal weapon. During the Upper Paleolithic period, better known as the Late Stone Age, Neanderthals lived in a cave and left behind a treasure trove of artifacts. Archaeologists have discovered many artifacts since excavations began in 1870. Early digs yielded cave bear, reindeer, mammoth, and horse remains, as well as Stone Age tools. Later explorations of the site found bone and ivory flutes dating back at least 35,000 years, along with prehistoric artwork featuring an ivory bird, a human-lion hybrid, and one of the earliest known representations of a phallus. The cave is called Hohl Fels and can be found in Germany's Swabian Jura mountain range. Earlier this year, archaeologists found a 3-inch-long leaf point that was once mounted to a wooden hunting spear. Dating back an estimated 65,000 years, it's older than similar artifacts that have been found at the site. The weapon also predates the last cultural phase of Neanderthals in Europe. This is the first time a leaf point has been found at the site since 1936. It appears as though someone damaged the leaf point while sharpening it, then threw the object away. Discoveries like this defy the popular stereotype that our Neanderthal cousins were not very smart, and that they lacked culture and creativity. This is just not true. Artifacts like this show that the Neanderthals were as skilled and complex as early humans were. Number 5. Clovis Campsite. It would have been hard, if not nearly impossible, to settle in what is now Michigan during the last ice age. At the time, the region was covered in glaciers up to a mile high, but archaeologists recently identified a 13,000-year-old campsite left behind by the Clovis people in the southwestern part of the state. The Clovis people were some of North America's earliest inhabitants and are named after the distinctively shaped spear points they used. Back in 2008, a self-taught researcher named Thomas Talbot found a Clovis spear point at the Belsen archaeological site. He assumed it was a one-off discovery, but he soon began finding more spear points and realized that he had stumbled upon an entire Clovis settlement. A small group, perhaps 6 or 7 people, stayed at the site for a short time. They briefly settled in the only part of Michigan that wasn't covered in a wall of ice. It's possible that they were seasonal hunters who temporarily branched off from their main group, according to researcher Brendan Nash, who wrote a paper on the findings. Archaeologists excavated the Belsen site last year and found more tools, as well as stone flakes indicating that people made tools while they were there. Experts believe that the campsite may be the earliest archaeological site in Michigan. It's also the northwesternmost Clovis settlement in the Great Lakes region, and it could potentially rewrite the area's history. Nash told the University of Michigan News that until now, researchers thought that the peopling process of the Great Lakes happened much later. Now they have concrete evidence that this wasn't the case. Number 4. The Amber Man. Around 3400 BC, a man's body was painted with red ochre and laid to rest with 140 pieces of amber jewelry in what is now Russia. Archaeologists recently discovered the shallow burial on the western shore of Lake Onega, which is Europe's second largest lake. The artifacts include amber buttons that were sewn face down into a leather cover that was draped over the man's body. Nicknamed the Amber Man, he was surrounded by 2 layers of amber decorations. It's the first time these objects have been found outside the eastern Baltic region. In addition to the amber artifacts, the team found flint tools and chips. Right next to the site, archaeologists found workshops for making axes and other tools. They are currently investigating these ancient production facilities to see if they are linked to the Amber Man. Researchers think that he may have been a trader from the eastern Baltic region, which would explain how the amber artifacts ended up so far from where they were made. It's possible that he traveled to Lake Onega to trade amber in exchange for axes, reflecting a possible trading link between the eastern Baltic and the Karelia peoples. Number 3. Prehistoric fake beads. In today's world, we value real precious metals, gems, and other materials over fakes, even if the imitation rock looks real, especially if you can afford the real thing. But it looks like since the beginning of time, there have always been copies and imitations and scam artists trying to trick everyone. The ancients weren't much different. In 2019, archaeologists found phony amber jewelry dating back to the 2nd and 3rd millennium BC. This means that the practice of hawking fake jewelry dates back around 5,000 years to Neolithic times. A chemical analysis focused on 6 prehistoric beads that appeared to be amber. 2 were from a cave near Seville, Spain, and 4 were from a burial near Barcelona. All were determined to be fake. These imitations were made from similar-looking translucent minerals or by applying coatings to make the fake object look like amber. Some were crafted from the core of a mollusk shell and coated in tree resin, while the others were seeds covered in tree resin. These fakes aren't surprising considering how valuable amber was to many civilizations, including prehistoric Iberia. It was both rare and expensive, and was a symbol of someone's high-ranking social status. Archaeologists made it clear that the faux amber artifacts don't count toward the 647 genuine Iberian amber objects that have been found. Number 2. Charred flower bouquets. The ancient urban metropolis of Teotihuacan was built near what is now Mexico City before the Aztecs came to power. Around 2,000 years ago, the people who lived there put together a collection of flower bouquets, laid some wood on top of them, and set the pile on fire. Archaeologists recently discovered the surprisingly intact remains of the burnt flowers in a tunnel beneath one of the city's pyramids. They were found 59 feet below ground in the deepest part of the labyrinth, alongside several pottery pieces and a sculpture depicting the rain and fertility god Tlaloc. The tunnel was discovered in 2003. Thousands of artifacts have been unearthed since then, including sculptures, pottery, cocoa beans, obsidian objects, and more. Excavation leader Sergio Gomez Chavez is an archaeologist with Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History. He told Live Science that the bouquets were probably used in rituals that perhaps had something to do with fertility. The number of flowers in each bouquet varies. It appears as though the wood stacked on top of the bouquets somewhat protected them from the fire. The team's next step is to identify the flower species in hopes of determining exactly what the bouquets were used for and why. They are also trying to understand why the ancient residents of Teotihuacan built the tunnel and what its purpose was. Number 1. Rare treasure hoard. While excavating a previously unexplored part of an ancient settlement in Russia's Suzdal-Opolye region, archaeologists unearthed a collection of women's jewelry. They were tipped off to its presence by jewelry fragments that had surfaced due to farming. It's the first jewelry from the Volga-Finnish culture that's been traced to the 1st millennium AD, during what's known as the Great Nations Migration. The collection includes ornaments for a traditional woman's costume, 3 beaded bracelets, an imported metal bowl, and over 300 beads that were probably sewn onto a piece of clothing that disintegrated over time. There were also 6 cast hollow duck pendants connected by a leather cord, which are characteristic of Finno-Ugric cultures. They were buried inside a box made of birch bark, but nobody knows why someone hid the treasures. The metal bowl that was recovered from the site appears to be older than the other artifacts and may be an import from the Middle East. The discovery is important for helping researchers learn more about the region during a historical period that has been studied very little. The area is considered integral to ancient Russian civilization, but experts are still trying to figure out how these cultures developed. Thanks for watching! If you'd like to learn more about ancient civilizations and strange, mysterious artifacts, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!